Welcome to Ask the Funeral Director with Mike Voyajakis. Brought to you by Voyage Funeral Home and Crematorium. Now, here's your host, Mike Voyajakis. At the Cork and Flame, we're always cooking and ready with the finest for all our customers any time of day or night. From breakfast brunch to lunch and dinner, steak and seafood to ribs and more. The Cork and Flame Fine Dining. Always fresh, with fabulous desserts and a narration of the urban landscape, plus a passion for quality food. Eat, drink, chill. Cork and Flame. 3106 Portage Avenue. There's no hurry, so sit back and relax. Don't know why that happened. There we go. Okay, sorry everyone. Obviously, a technical glitch there with our audio. Something went awry. If somebody could just type that they were able to hear the commercial. I know it looked great. Hopefully it sounded great too. Lots to come on the show tonight. As I said, no, he was muted. The commercial was muted? The commercial hopefully had some audio too. I wasn't muted. Looks like Randy says we're good. Looks like we are back on track. There we go. Yes, we heard the commercial. All right, we can move on. We got a great show planned for you tonight. We're not going to run through the commercial again, but we are going to bring on the boss right now. The boss is sitting here ready to go beside me. We said we've got some great videos to come tonight. How you doing tonight, Mike?
Well, another edition of Ask the Funeral Director. Last night we had Pastor John Feeks on the show.
Special episode.
And it was a special episode, and it was awesome. People loved it. Gonna say hi to some pupils. Start off with my son Josh. First one on the show tonight. What's up with that?
I don't know. He must have been watching. He wants to know where his dad is.
Susan said, yes, we could hear your commercial, Brad. Shelley Smith, hear you and the commercial.
Beautiful.
Hi, everyone. Al Bueller. It's all good now. Mary, the boss is coming.
The boss is coming.
Randolph, good evening, Mike and Brad. Josh, I was waiting for it to go live. LOL. Anita, hello, Mike and Brad. We have some interesting videos tonight. This first one is going to blow your mind. You need to listen to the words that this gentleman's speaking. It's mind-boggling what some of the immigrants are making coming into Canada, while Canadians are struggling away to try and make a living. Brad took our bells away tonight, and I made him bring it back because he thought it was annoying, but I think it's good. Pat says hi from Haddishville, Manitoba. No monkey.
No monkeys today.
Oh, we can't say what she's going to say because Brad will start laughing again. See that, Brad?
Brad will... No.
Brad doesn't even read that one.
Brad didn't do that last week either. It was him.
We'll go into the first video, maybe come back and say hi to some more people.
You want to do that now?
Let's do it now.
The video's not playing. There you go. See, technical difficulties straight off the hop. Here we go. Well, I know they were running earlier. We'll have to hit the refresh button here. Try this one more time again.
I'm going to read to you guys the craziest message I just got on TikTok. It says, I have a copy from the CRA on how much money they, they meaning refugees, receive. I have a family of 5 from Syria in a rental. So I said, I'm assuming it's quite a bit. They said, first off, they receive a startup allowance of $8,005 to buy furniture, dishwasher, small appliances, clothes, and transportation. The husband receives $2,354 monthly and is broken down to transportation, communication, shelter, basic needs, housing, and housing supplements. They have 3 children, and in total they receive $29,182.88 annually. And it's paid monthly as $2,431, in total $57,430, not including the startup of $8,000. They have case managers who send me lists of rentals needed. Right now they are housed in the Executive Airport Hotel in Richmond, BC. They laugh about it, how they are getting a free ride. On top of that, the women are now panhandling. Wow. They are now panhandling at major intersections in front of Walmarts, holding up signs saying, refugee from Syria, no money, 3 kids, please help. Sorry for the essay. Cheers, huge fan. This is ridiculous. I'm going to read to you guys the craziest message I just...
Whoa.
That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. You know, talking about refugees, there, if you drive down Main Street right beside Kildonan Park, there's a refugee there holding up a sign saying, refugee, 4 kids, need money for food. Isn't that crazy? It's happening
crazy.
right here in Winnipeg, including other places in Canada, and they're making that kind of money. That is just bizarre that the government is taking care of immigrants in that way while Canadians are struggling on our streets and having a hard time feeding themselves and their families. The average person works 2 jobs just to help pay the bills and to try and keep the lights on in the house.
There's Canadians that are living on the street homeless right now, veterans that are on the street homeless right now, and we're bringing 8,000 more into Manitoba that Justin's sending our way real soon.
You know, when do the people in Manitoba say, look, enough's enough. We can't take this anymore. We need to get together and make noise. It's wrong. That's what's happening. I mean, WAPCanoe allowing another 8,000 people in the next couple of months.
You know, I've driven throughout the whole city, and I've lived in Alberta, I've lived in British Columbia, I've lived in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. And I've lived in the States. I can honestly tell you that what I've experienced going to Alberta and then coming back to Manitoba is heartbreaking. This province has a money with spending.
Yeah.
This province has a problem with spending it on the wrong things. I see so many people who are struggling in this city, and just in the city alone, let alone the province. We haven't even delved into the Aboriginal reserves yet, which again are even more devastated than some of the parts of Winnipeg. But we see so many people that are in such trial and tribulation, you know?
Trudeau gave $5 billion to the UN the other day.
I know.
Larry mentioned that, but I was going to mention. It's time to take care of Manitobans. There's so many people struggling. As a funeral director, I see it firsthand when families are coming into the funeral home and struggling just to pay a simple cremation invoice. People's kids are hungry. People are hungry. Families are struggling. And, you know, if we got that kind of money to give to immigrants, why can't we take care of Canadians? Like Brad said, the homeless population in Manitoba is just completely out of control. And winter's coming, and it breaks my heart every time I drive by and see people homeless on these streets in the winter, in the bus shacks, freezing cold. It's just wrong, and it shouldn't happen in Manitoba. Take care of Manitobans first. The veterans struggling like crazy out on the streets, and kids going to school hungry. Like I said, it's something that shouldn't happen, and it's happening, and it's time to stop this nonsense. It's time, during the next election, remember, we need to get people in charge that are going to make a difference. Get to know who you're going to vote for and make sure that person is going to do right for you and your family, that's going to make change, that's going to make immigration a thing of the past. We have to put immigration on hold until we can actually take care of Manitobans now. Never mind Manitobans, Canada in general. Let's take care of Canadians first. Once we take care of Canadians, we should bring in immigration that's controlled, not immigration where people come walking through the borders. And yet, when we go across the borders as Canadians, we get harassed. They make us take off our shoes. They make us take off our belts. They treat us like criminals. The last time I got on an airplane, I totally felt like a criminal, especially when they said, take off your shoes. Like, take off my shoes? Are you kidding me?
It's crazy what we had to go through and what we still go through at the airports and everywhere else. This next video, you brought this one along with you too, and well, it kind of made me think about this thing.
The monkey's back again. Jeez.
One last time. If you wouldn't have brought the video with you, I wouldn't have pulled them out. But next thing you know, here we are.
This next video is really interesting. If you want to know about monkeypox, because another lockdown is coming, more problems are coming to Manitoba, Canada in general, and you know what's going to happen. More lockdowns means more mental illness, more deaths, more fighting with families, more anger, more frustration, more hate. Seriously, we can't put up with it this time around, but it's happening in other countries, and it's happening, they're strong-handing other companies, and I'm sure there's another vaccine that comes along with that. But please, watch this video on monkeypox.
Did you happen to see Justin Trudeau today? He posted a tweet that basically said, hey, if you're out doing your Christmas shopping this week, getting some of those last minute things done, make sure you get your booster. And Wayne Peters had a great comment to come back on that. I won't mention what his words were, but
go get your booster. Well, hopefully the people watching the show, please like, share, and follow the show, but share it out to people.
Oh, it's safe, it's safe and effective for YouTube. Yeah, for YouTube, it's safe and effective.
Oh, geez. Watch this monkeypox video. We'll talk about it when we come back.
The World Health Organization has declared monkeypox or mpox outbreak as a global health emergency. This has happened for the second time in 2 years. Cases and deaths due to the viral disease are surging across several East and Central African countries. What is this disease and should you be scared? Let's look at the 5 things that you should know about the monkeypox. To begin with, what is monkeypox? According to the WHO, it is a viral illness caused by the monkeypox virus. In scientific terms, it is a species of the genus Orthopox virus and exists in 2 forms, clade 1 and clade 2. What are the symptoms of monkeypox? Some common signs are rash, fever, sore throat, headache, muscle ache, back pain, fatigue, and swollen lymph nodes. The symptoms typically last 2 to 4 weeks, but can persist for longer in some patients. The rash begins as a flat sore, but soon develops into a blister. Once it heals, the lesions dry up, crust over, and fall off. How does monkeypox spread? The disease is communicable and spreads from contact with an infected person. It can spread through touch and body fluids, or via contaminated materials such as bed sheets, clothes, and needles. Mpox can also transmit from animal to humans via hunting, skinning, or cooking. Pregnant women may pass on the infection to their unborn baby. Now, why is monkeypox a public health emergency of international concern? It is worth noting that this is WHO's highest form of alert. The first human case of monkeypox was discovered in Congo back in 1970. Since then, it has been a cause of concern in parts of Africa. 2 years ago, a form of monkeypox began to spread globally, primarily among homosexual men. That is when the WHO first declared it an emergency. Luckily, the outbreak was reined in after behavior change, safe sex practices, and vaccines. But the current situation is Congo's worst ever. According to a Reuters report, there have been 27,000 cases and more than 1,100 deaths since January 2023, largely among children. 2 strains of the virus are now spreading in Democratic Republic of Congo, the endemic form as well as a new variant. It is this new form that has triggered alarm. It seems to be spreading quickly and not much is known about it. The virus is spreading through close contact and has now moved from Eastern Congo to Rwanda, Uganda, Burundi, and Kenya. How does it affect you and should you be worried? Monkeypox is a significant health problem and is killing some of the most vulnerable people. However, it does not compare to COVID-19. As of now, there is no proof that the virus spreads easily through air like the coronavirus. Plus, experts say we have tools that can stop the infection and help those at risk. Arguably, the biggest challenge is to make sure that these tools reach those who need them in Congo and neighboring countries.
Are you a professional looking to...
Did you see the monkeypox vaccine?
Yes, the
Monkeypox vaccine, a whole whack on. You know,
Safe
it
and
happens
effective.
every year. Get ready for it. September's coming, October's coming, and then of course the cold comes. People start getting the flu. They get all those conditions. Sore, runny nose, congested, all the things that happen during a normal flu. So get ready. It's starting in other countries like COVID did, and then it spreads to Canada by somebody getting on a plane and flying over here. And all of a sudden, monkeypox is now in Manitoba. And it looks like Brad's got monkeypox.
I don't
he
have
has some of those
monkeypox.
symptoms. It's crazy. It's probably because you've been
I don't have
playing with that
monkeypox.
monkey.
I don't have monkeypox from playing with the monkey or anything else.
But I guarantee you, if you walked into an office right now, they'd probably say, Brad, you have monkeypox. It's
No, they
crazy
would
that
not.
they're going to try and do this to us.
The vaccine that I got last week or the week before was safe and effective. It came from a Chiquita banana, and we put the patch on. We're good.
I see the comments are on fire about, isn't that where HIV started with same sex, Rosie says?
This is stupid. It's funny. It's not funny. It's BS. Yeah, well, it's all the above.
Wow, I can't believe we're going to go through this on round 2. Round 1 caused enough problems. A lot of businesses went broke. A lot of businesses couldn't even recover. They couldn't. What are you reading now?
Monkeypox symptom.
Oh, sore bum. If you have a sore bum, go see your doctor. It may be monkeypox coming to a city near you.
You may be gay.
Our comment section is incredible.
It is.
But as I was saying,
Snake venom.
When when COVID was here, it almost put a lot of people out of businesses. A lot of businesses closed, never to reopen again. And I don't think the small business community, because you know what happened.
Yeah,
the big
I do.
stores like Canadian Tires and Walmarts and all the big stores that are around were allowed to remain open, while all the small stores
That's right.
had to close down. And running my brother's restaurant now, you have to really worry about that. Not only that, you got to let go of most of your staff, which puts people in the unemployment line. Then you have to rehire again. And some of those businesses, like I said, will never come back again. I know at the funeral home this time, I don't think I'm going to play the monkeypox game.
Where did Justin find all this money to spend on paying everybody to stay home during COVID and now feeding all of the illegal immigrants?
You know what?
It's
$5
just
billion
amazing.
to the UN.
Amazing.
And you know what the UN is doing? UN just jumped on board with Klaus Schwab. And there's
One world government.
One world government. We're gonna
Global
play
governance.
that on, next Wednesday's show.
Every country leader signed on to this just the other day.
Every
in New York
country
City.
leader
That's
signed
correct.
on to it. And then you wonder, there's Trudeau signing on to it, giving $5 billion while Canadians
Of
are
our,
struggling and
of our
starving.
hard-earned tax dollars.
And then yet, if you owe money to Revenue Canada, they're on your case like crazy. They go in, they seize your bank accounts, they cause all kinds of problems in your life, and yet, unbelievable. We're going to go into this next one before we get into the show. But listen, if you've been to a funeral home, if you've been taken advantage of,
This is part of the show. We're on the air. We're live, and they can hear us now.
if you've been on the show, and if you've been to a funeral home and you've experienced being taken advantage of,
Sorry, I call it got ripped off.
if you got ripped off by a funeral home, some of these things may have happened to you. This is an investigation that took place by Marketplace. We played one a couple weeks ago. This is they went back a second time to see if.
They had to go see if they were cleared up,
they were
right?
cleared up.
From the first time.
But the reason I'm going to play this video is because I want them to go back again.
Yeah.
Because there's families all over Canada, Manitoba, being taken advantage of. Watch this video. It's like 7 minutes long, but it shows you all the gimmicks and scams that are going on in funeral service. So, Brad, hit it.
Here we go.
Don't forget the volume.
We're back on the case, undercover inside funeral homes, testing to see if anything's changed.
For dignity, it's nice to maybe put her in something nice and comfortable.
Because you may never be more vulnerable to a sales pitch than in a place like this.
Does that seem like something that would be appropriate?
Hi, Randy.
Yeah.
Monique and Randy Wright were arranging a funeral for Randy's ailing mom. They'd just been here, Chapel Lawn in Winnipeg, run by the largest Canadian-owned funeral company, Arbor Memorial.
I just happened to watch the Marketplace episode, and we were just aghast. It's like, oh my goodness, that's us.
In that 2017 investigation, we filmed Arbor sales staff on commission pushing hard to upsell.
I haven't had anything that, I wouldn't provide for my own family.
From pricey packages
Do we need everything on that?
A couple items are 98% is mandatory.
to costly caskets,
$2,500, 33, 4,000, 7,000.
pushing embalming that wasn't wanted or even needed.
And we need to have the embalming for that?
You should.
Embalming is optional and rarely required, but Randy and Monique say Arbor told them it had to be done.
Did you feel like you had an option?
No, absolutely not.
No.
It just was the minimum package that you could have. The biggest issue was the embalming and a viewing of my mother, who was very private, and it would have been awful. It would have made me sick.
So Randy and Monique turned to industry insider Shane Neufeld to help them cancel the agreement. They saw him in our last story.
How typical is the experience that Randy described?
I think it's very typical. I think it's more common than it should be.
Shane used to work for Arbor, but now runs a funeral home that takes a different approach. While he helps Randy and Monique, we want to know if upselling like this is still common practice. Has anything changed since our last story?
Hey, Kerry.
Hi, David.
Yeah, good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Well, have a seat.
Thank you very much.
To find out, we're back at the Bereavement Authority of Ontario and funeral industry regulator Kerry Smith. He vowed to crack down after we showed him our original hidden camera.
You took action.
Did take action.
What did you do?
Right away. Arbor management came into the office here. Their attitudes are very good and promised to take immediate action.
That action started with caskets. We found Arbor's marked up by as much as 400%. But buy one from a different company, and Arbor would charge almost $600 as a handling fee.
They could legally charge that, but I said, it leaves a bad taste in people's mouth, so stop doing it. They 100% agreed. The other thing we asked them to stop immediately was there was a clip showing the selling of an identity casket.
She just wants something very simple.
It's an identification container, so yeah, you wouldn't really see that during the visitation.
It was positioned to the consumer in the video that they couldn't use it for a full service funeral. We took issue with that and said, no, if it's in your showroom, it's available for sale.
These are a lot of changes.
I believe there are a lot of changes, and they implemented them very swiftly, so they've taken it very seriously.
But how seriously? Our undercover producers are back testing 5 Arbor homes in Ontario to find out.
Just a simple kind of service here before cremation.
Are Kerry's new rules being followed? We're showing him what we found out.
Do you mind if I show you some of the video?
No, please do.
First up, we test whether they'll charge a handling fee if we want to buy a casket elsewhere, something Kerry banned.
Do people ever bring in their own caskets?
You can bring in your own if you want. There's no extra fees or anything to do that.
Do people ever bring in their own caskets?
Yes, you can buy an outside casket.
And there's no extra cost with that or anything?
There is not.
Good. That's following the rules, the new rules that you've set up.
Absolutely.
All 5 homes have dropped their $600 handling fee.
You're happy to see that.
I'm happy and relieved.
But Kerry's about to be more than disappointed. This is your marketplace. We're inside Arbor Memorial, the largest Canadian-owned funeral home chain.
And so this is our collection room.
This time, we're shopping for caskets.
You can see the price point of the baling.
We want the cheapest option. It's about $900.
Are you thinking sort of that price point, or
If we can do a lower
a little bit lower?
Yeah.
Okay.
After our last investigation 2 years ago, Ontario's funeral regulator cracked down, saying staff must offer to sell the cheapest casket, something that wasn't always happening.
When people come and you're going to be giving speeches and the like, that's what will be present at the front of the
Are
tent.
Arbor staff following that new rule?
Does that seem like something that would be appropriate?
Independent funeral director Shane Neufeld watches too.
for dignity for your aunt, it's nice to maybe put her in something nice and comfortable, right?
I think it's interesting that they see that the path to dignity is to spend more money. I don't make that connection myself.
We could use it for the service if we wanted to and put flowers on top.
It's totally up to you. I've never seen it done, but it's totally up to you.
If he's never seen that done, then he's never served a family that's truly in need. Who is he to say that to them?
Your aunt or your mom or dad lose a lot of dignity when they're going through a sickness or an illness. Least you can do is give them some of that dignity back.
It looks like he's playing on the emotions of the consumer. That in itself isn't against the law. It's perhaps distasteful. People would find that distasteful.
You're the regulator, and you seem to have a problem with it.
Yeah, well, I don't like people preying on people's vulnerabilities.
And at this home, the upselling does break the rules.
Our starting point is around $18.95.
Starting point, our producer spots a casket for $1,000 less.
What about this one? It says cremation container.
Yeah, so this is for when there's no services, or like no visitations.
So this person didn't get the memo.
She digs in, refuses to sell us the cheapest casket.
So we can't use it.
Not for visitation. Like not for your funeral.
She's wrong.
She's wrong.
Yes.
You've forbidden that. You've been clear.
Yeah, you can't do that. If they want to use that as a service, they have to use it as a service.
If you're confronted by something like that, what do you do?
Oh, we'll be taking action on that one, for sure. They should know better, because that was a key issue that was addressed right after the last episode.
What will you be saying to Arbor?
I'm disappointed, and this is a letdown.
Arbor's head office declined our request for an on-camera interview, but did send us a statement saying they've made significant enhancements to their training programs over the past year and adopted industry-wide changes following our initial investigation. They also say they'll respond to customer concerns promptly.
I have here the statement we have.
Randy and Monique did have concerns. Upsold on a contract with Arbor they wanted out of.
Was this about money for you?
No, not at all.
What was it about?
Not having my mom embalmed. That was the main thing.
They fought us through everything. Through absolutely everything.
They turned to Shane for help after seeing him in our last story.
We wrote all of the letters, took care of all the paperwork for them. They got a refund check. And so that...
Shane's in the business too, but unlike most funeral homes, he charges a flat fee and passes everything else on at cost.
If someone says, we want the world's most expensive casket, we'll provide it to them, but that won't benefit us. We don't care about what people buy in terms of product.
Randy's mother died just 2 months after they canceled Arbor's contract, and the service she got was the one they wanted.
What does that mean for the way you can now remember your mother?
It's awesome. That's the way it's supposed to be.
You just want to do right by that person, by your loved one. It wasn't about the money.
Well, there you have it, Mike.
How sad is that? Playing on your emotions. So when you walk in a funeral home, the first thing you need to watch for is a salesperson or funeral director playing on your emotions and lying to you and not telling you the truth. And there's so much of that out there. And I wish Marketplace would come back and go to more funeral homes, not just the Arbor Group, but other funeral homes too, because there's a lot of that going on. We talk about the storefront businesses, lying about having crematoriums, lying about having your loved one in their care. People telling you that embalming is absolutely 100% necessary. That is a lie. You don't have to embalm your loved one. I want to let you know what we use for a basic cremation container. We don't sell a casket. I refuse to sell a casket for cremation. We use a cardboard container. And that's all you need, a cardboard container. So these funeral homes that are trying to sell you expensive caskets for the cremation process is just 100% wrong. You don't have to do an identification viewing. That's wrong. You don't have to dress your loved one or wash your loved one prior to cremation. There's so many things that are wrong. What a bunch of greedy... So, you know what? It's good to play the show. Not that I want to put down the competition, but I want to wake up people to what's going on. Marketplace is something you can find on YouTube, so we're not doing anything wrong. But it's just wrong And it's inexcusable to do something like that. When a family comes in, we treat every family as if they're our own mom and dad. There is no sales pitch. You don't want to buy an urn? You don't have to buy an urn. You want to bring in something of sentimental value? That's perfect. That's exactly what you need. What you want is closure.
Right.
Without closure, you can't move on and heal. This is about love, compassion, care, taking care of a family to the best of your ability from your heart, not your pocketbook. So when you're going out and somebody's passed away, do your homework. I encourage you to call 2 or 3 funeral homes, then call Voyage and compare. The Voyage experience is an incredible experience. No sales staff, no pushing. We give you what you want. All our packages are in writing, and we make it simple for you without playing on your emotions.
You're one caring man, Mike. They all need to take lessons from you, Heather says. So good job. Good on you.
I wish more funeral directors were compassionate and as caring as I am with families, because we truly do things with...
The
What?
telephone is ringing. We have to answer this.
Oh, no.
Hello? Hello? Who's this? Hello?
Hi, is this Mike?
Hi, is this Mike? Mike's right here. Yeah, who's this?
Mike, yes, it's me, Donald Trump.
Mr. Trump, what are you doing on the show tonight, sir? We're glad to have you. How are you, sir?
Mike, I'm so happy to be on the show with you tonight.
Well, that's great. We're happy to have you on the show, aren't you, Mike?
Yeah,
We got Trump on the line.
Donald Trump. Wow, that is awesome. Doesn't sound like Donald Trump, but is he on holidays in some foreign country?
He could be. Could be still in Florida. So,
Donald, talk some more.
You got any questions for Mike tonight, Mr. Trump?
I just want to know if I get you. Can you please be the one who does my hair for the open casket funeral, please, Mike?
So he wants to know, if he gets shot, will you do his hair for the open casket funeral?
Mr. President Donald Trump, I would be...
He left.
I would be more than happy to,
He must be watching.
to do your funeral service and fix your hair and make it look perfect.
Perfect.
Like the wind just blew through it when you were at one of those stadiums doing one of your outstanding speeches. Wow.
Yeah, Heather, it's a little bit off, but we're working on it. We're trying.
So what we're trying to tell you is we're going to start taking phone calls.
Yes.
So we'll probably take 1 or 2 calls per show where people can ask a live question on the air, and we won't be able to see you, but we'll be able to hear you. So it's something new that's coming on the show. So that is
Exactly.
awesome.
That's right. Something that'll just add a little more dynamic to the program,
What does it
get
say?
a little bit of live conversation happening too. So
Good
there you go.
videos. Good videos tonight. You know, that monkeypox videos is really something to worry about, because if that's what they're going to bring our way next, get ready. It's going to happen. I wonder if the toilet paper is going to sell out right away.
Probably pretty quick.
Get your toilet paper while you still can. Wonder if they're going to do the 6-foot distancing thing again. I mean, even though they were told that doesn't work.
Yeah. Follow the arrows. Follow the arrows on the floor
Follow
of the
the arrows.
supermarket. That's right.
What was his name? Fauci? Didn't Fauci say that he made that up?
He made all that.
Made all that up.
Made all that
Jeez.
up.
Just like the radio stations years ago. Right on, Gloria says. That's fantastic, Mike and Brad.
Well, thanks.
Brad tried to take our bells away. He took away my hammer because we're being censored. There's no doubt about that. Like the last show only got 2,200 views. The show I did with the pastor yesterday got 2,200 views. So do us a favor, would you? Like, share, and follow the show. We kind of need it. If we're being censored, nobody's going to know about us except for the people that are watching now.
Anna says, this is awesome. The call from our president, Donald J. Trump. Glad you said yes, Mike, to doing his hair.
Of course, nobody would do his hair like I would.
No, trust
You know
me. Mike did it. Nobody can hear us. We dropped. There we go. There was a flash in the audio and video there. I don't know if there's somebody watching
back.
from the United States of
What
America.
did we just say?
didn't
Can
like-
anybody read lips? Because I forgot what I was saying, too. I was saying I was going to make Donald Trump look really good, and I was saying that I got to come up no sound again. Wow.
Wow. It's back. No, it's back. It's just Al Bueller's a little
I was
slow.
saying I usually show up to the studio a half hour early to do Brad's hair and his cosmetics, and he looks good.
And the comb over doesn't start from here; it starts up
Yeah,
at the top
yeah.
still.
So I mean, if I could do his hair, I could definitely do Donald Trump's hair.
Absolutely. You this is the preliminary Donald Trump hairdo.
Anyways, we were talking about all the things happening in the world too. I don't know if you got this, but monkeypox. Like, are we going to run out of toilet paper again? Get your toilet paper while you can.
No, stop
otherwise you're gonna
driving
have to
people.
use the
You're fear
local
mongering.
paper.
You're fear mongering now.
Hey, listen,
Don't do that.
Listen, it's coming, Brad. There's no doubt about it. It's coming. It's back.
It's not back and it's not coming, and nobody's going to comply.
I hope nobody. You know what? I don't think our audience would comply. I don't think I'd comply at the funeral home this time. I just can't do it. If we did that again, we'd go broke.
If you didn't learn something from the last episode and go around, you better just recheck your information in your own brain.
And one other thing I just want to say, because I don't know if you heard about it, but because the sound went out. But we talked about, please share the show. Say it's louder. Say it louder. Say it louder. Say it
Say
louder.
it proud. Say it loud. It's loud.
What I was saying again is we're definitely being censored on the show. So please follow, and share the show as much as you can, so we get our numbers back up where they were. We're at 5,000 views a show roughly.
Yeah.
Down to 2,000 shares of view. That's impossible. I will never comply, says Mavis. We're going to go into the first question on Ask the Funeral Director tonight. People ask, where can I send a question? You can either leave it in the comments, or you can send it to askthefuneraldirector@gmail.com.
That's right. I've always wondered about the process of cremation. When a body is cremated, is the deceased removed from the casket or coffin before placement in the cremation chamber? My reasoning is that if the casket or coffin remains intact, it would contaminate the ashes with the wood and metal residue, would it not, Mike?
Or Lori, I'd have to agree with that one, because the biggest reason we don't cremate caskets is, for one thing, the cremation would take double, if not triple, the time than it would with a cardboard container. And second of all, you wouldn't just get cremated remains back. You'd be getting wood chips and all kinds of things back other than just cremated remains. And more to that is, why would you ever cremate a casket? Why would you ever tell a family that they have to buy this expensive casket to cremate it when we could use a cardboard container that does it all? Trudeau has nice hair.
Trudeau has nice hair?
That's funny. This comment section makes me laugh. I go back every time after the show and I look at the comments, and the comments are just incredible. Make me laugh sometimes.
I think the next thing is the pharmacy. They're going to maybe create a drug shortage, especially heart meds, now that lots are using them. And there are a lot of people that are finding themselves in the myocarditis, I guess, place.
You know what drives me crazy is I hope that they don't shut down the hospitals again where people get delayed. What happened last time around, and I got to tell you this again right now if you haven't heard this before, during COVID they said the hospitals were full. They were packed. You couldn't move in there. And we'd walk in as funeral directors and the hospitals were empty. Nurses and doctors,
dancing,
all alike, could tell you the same thing, dancing, making videos.
Yeah.
While the hospital is just infested with people that are sick. The hospitals were empty. But folks, I got to tell you something now. A short time after vaccination, the hospitals are full now. More full than I've ever seen these hospitals in all the years that I've been a funeral director. We constantly get calls to come to the hospital or care home and take people out of the morgues because they're full.
And
that did not happen during COVID.
You've been in the basement. I've been up on the 5th and 6th floors, and they're packed.
Packed.
They're packed. 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th floors, all packed. Yeah. Palliative care, packed again.
We don't get
no
to see,
beds left.
No, there's no beds left. I mean, the hospitals are more full than they've ever been, and before the hospitals were empty. And if you don't get that, if that doesn't tell you something in your head, that the government actually lied to you, the news lied to you, the media lied to you, the papers lied to you when they were following the narrative.
Yeah. You know what else is interesting is that the individuals that are filling up the hospitals, palliative care, and care homes are people at end of days and people that are seriously sick. And
Brad, why were you on the maternity ward?
I was looking at babies. It's all fun.
Oh, my God.
The point being that it's of all ages.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, we have a serious problem ever since COVID, and I talk
ages.
about this all the time. Mental illness, people can't get help for it. It's completely out of control. Suicide, drug overdoses, people that couldn't get operations weren't dying because they were put on hold. People that needed liver transplants, heart transplants, heart operations, all those people were put on hold. People that had cancer, all put on hold, and now it's all kicking in. And add the vaccine to that, and we have a real problem. And yet there's still people out there that are creating this. You walk into some of these shopping centers, and the people behind the counters are wearing masks as if it's a cool thing to do. Look at me with my mask.
They're wearing masks behind plexiglass still.
Oh, my God.
Like, it's just nuts. Okay, Laura's next question.
Well, you know what? On the bright side of things, we have the Winnipeg Sun now.
We do have
and
the Winnipeg
Sun. As a matter of fact, I
Real
have so
journalism.
much faith in the Winnipeg Sun now that I start advertising.
Yeah.
I advertise in the Winnipeg Sun now because I believe they're out to tell the truth and to guide people and protect people. And I don't think the Sun is going to lie through this, or are there reporters?
Yeah, I think they're basically going to show you what's both sides. They're going to show you what, and then let you make your own mind up, which is real journalism, right?
If you haven't got a Sun yet, the new Sun paper is bigger, better. You can subscribe online, all kinds of things, but it's giving you the real news, stuff people aren't talking about, which is really cool.
That's correct. Laura says, I'd really prefer to be cremated for several reasons. My kids and husband are having a hard time with my choice. Is there a way to have part of your ashes spread and then another part buried with your spouse? Honestly, I think once my ashes are left to my great-grandchildren, they will want a stranger's ashes around.
Yeah,
or they won't want.
That's the problem, right? A lot of people want to scatter their cremated remains, but they want to keep some because it's actually a great idea to have a place where your grandkids can go. Where was Grandma? Well, Grandma's buried right here. And it just gives them a place to be, a place to show their respect, a place to remember. And when you scatter cremated remains, that's great too. So you could do a little bit of both. You can scatter cremated remains at your favorite fishing spot, your favorite golf course, whatever the case may be. If you went to Florida or you went to Mexico once a year, your favorite place where you hung out there, the cottage. And then you can also take some cremated remains and place them on the side where you're placing them in a cemetery or in a burial spot that you're familiar with, where you could take your grandkids and say, hey, Grandma or Grandpa was buried right here. This is where they are. And you could take flowers once in a while, because that does a lot for kids sometimes. Years and years later, it just gives them a place to go, which is really important sometimes. Somebody's talking about new ownership at the Winnipeg Sun. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah,
Kevin Klein,
Klein,
who's a great guy, by the way, has now taken over, the Klein family has taken over the Winnipeg Sun and has made some real positive changes.
Yeah, they've got some really good columnists as well. Marty Gold is there. We've got
Hal Anderson.
Yeah, that's right.
Did we say that together?
We did. You owe me a beer. There's probably about 5 or 6 or 7 actual people that are there. I don't have all of the list yet, but we'll make sure to mention
and you
them
know what?
in
We're going to
weeks
make
come.
some announcements on behalf of the Sun in the near future of something that they're going to be doing that's going to be mind-boggling.
All right, my next question from Dan says, my friend has a close aunt who lives in Canada. He lives in the U.S. My friend has a close aunt who lives in Canada. He lives in the U.S. He is the executor. Executor. Well, it's a funeral show. He is curious that when she passes, can he bring her urn back over to the border after cremation? You must be able to transport the body across.
So
cremated.
they're talking about cremated remains. So there is a way.
You can't throw me in the trunk and then haul me up from Grand Forks, can you?
I'm going to do that.
Okay.
Isn't that where you're going to pass with Grand Forks?
Could very well happen.
We go to Grand Forks all the time. But here's the situation. So if you're cremated, you could take cremated remains even on an airplane as a carry-on. So the funeral home gives you a letter of transportation. That's what we give you. This allows, am I ever close on the screen? I feel like I'm right up to anyways, we give you a letter of transportation. And that allows you to take the cremated remains on an airplane to your destination of choice. And if you're taking the border, the cremated remains to Grand Forks, for example. So if you get to the border, they may ask you if you have anything that shouldn't be in your car. You would tell them that you have cremated remains. You would give them the letter of cremation from the funeral home, and then that would allow you to bring the cremated remains across to the States, where you can bring the person back home or scatter or whatever the case may be on the other side. So there's all kinds of things you could do with cremated remains. Ask your local funeral director. If they're not going to try and sell you something, maybe they'll tell you the truth and tell you what you can actually do with cremated remains. Some cemeteries will go as far as telling you that cremated remains have to be placed in their cemetery. That's a sales pitch. You don't have to place cremated remains in a cemetery, period. You could take them home. You can scatter them. You can leave them at the funeral home for them to scatter. There's all kinds of choices. We have over 100 sets of cremated remains at the funeral home that people haven't even picked up yet.
And what do you do with those?
So eventually we will take those cremated remains and scatter them. So we've had cremated remains since 25 years, sitting at the funeral home, and it's heartbreaking to know that somebody's left their loved one at the funeral home, hasn't come to take those cremated remains in their care. I mean, scatter them, do something with them, place them in a cemetery, but leaving them at a funeral home, I think, is a little disrespectful.
Yeah, I agree.
Disrespectful to your mom or dad who passed away, your loved one, and to the funeral home at the same time, because you're kind of leaving your problem with them and not dealing with it, and I think that's just wrong.
A viewer named Debbie says, what are the decisions I need to make at the time of a loved one's death? There's a lot of decisions that need to be made, obviously, Debbie, but Mike's
So, Debbie,
gonna
big
help
decisions
you.
that you have to make at the time of death is, the first decision that you should make in your head prior to somebody passing away is, which funeral home am I going to use? Because when you take somebody into a care home or a hospital, one of the questions they do ask you is, which funeral home will you be using? And it's a shocking question if you're bringing somebody into emergency, but you just never know when they ask you that question. So be prepared to, and then other questions you need to know is what you're going to do. Are you going to do a cremation? Are you going to do a burial? Are you going to have a service? Are you going to have a graveside service? Are you going to use a cemetery? There's so many questions that need to be answered while you're preparing for somebody's death. This is where I tell you to go to our website. I'm not trying to sell you anything, but voyagefuneralhomes.com. Download the Wishes and Memories book. The Wishes and Memories book will guide you through all of this, and it will help you plan that funeral. Even if it's a simple cremation, it'll guide you on how to plan that simple cremation without being taken advantage of. It's called the Wishes and Memories book. It's at voyagefuneralhomes.com. While you're on there, if you don't have a will, you could get a free will kit, a complete free will kit, no money, no catches, and you can download it. It's a 5-in-1 will kit, which would cost you $300 to $500 to get at one of your local places that sell wills, whether it be a lawyer's office or a bookstore, whatever the case may be.
You know how we always like to take some of our questions off our chat room, right? So I think there's a good one here. Wallace Lee is asking a great question. I just watched a cast yesterday that says, bury your loved ones in your family backyard. This allows the family's property to register for property tax exemption for cemetery status. Before cemeteries, that's where Grandma and Gramps were placed. Mike, what are your thoughts on all that?
That is not true. Don't bury your... I mean, you could put cremated remains in the backyard. A lot of people... I mean, there's no... Once cremation is done, the cremated remains really are just the memory of somebody's body, right? So you can do what you want with those. But you can't dig a hole and throw somebody's loved one in your backyard. You just can't do that. You're a double voicer. So you can't bury your mom or dad in your backyard. And there's designated cemeteries under the Cemeteries Act, and you have to use a cemetery under the Cemeteries Act. You just can't make up your own cemetery. You have to go for zoning. You have to do all the things they tell you to do. But a lot of people believe that, somebody starts a rumor like, oh, you could bury your loved one in the backyard and it'll be a cemetery and you don't have to pay taxes. That is not true. Not in Manitoba anyways. So go to a cemetery. You can go to the Cemeteries Act. It's you could Google it. The Cemeteries Act will tell you where and when and why and how you could bury loved ones and what you could do with cremated remains. And for the people wondering, you could scatter cremated remains. You could place them in water. You could do all kinds of things as long as you're not placing it in your drinking water or recreation water. You could scatter it. Grandpa's favorite fishing spot.
Really?
There you go.
That's a good idea.
What does this say? Maybe they died or incarcerated, unable to pick up the cremated remains. So that's a big thing, Remedy Max, as you're asking that question. So you got to watch where you put cremated remains, because we've had families phone us up and said, we sold our cottage and we scattered Dad in the cottage in the yard, and we need to pack Dad's cremated remains, and we need to take him to the new cottage we bought. Well, there's a problem. Once you scatter cremated remains, there's no way of getting them back. So use common sense and don't do anything drastic. When you get the cremated remains in your care, think about what you're going to do. Don't just scatter around their backyard. If you sell your house...
So I can't take them up to the top of the mountain and go and let them go?
You just got to be really careful what you do with cremated remains, and you need to think about it. It's almost like when you're coaching hockey. They have that, 48-hour rule.
Parent rule.
Where you don't talk to the parents. You need
the parents don't talk to the coaches.
Can't talk to the coaches. Brad and I were both hockey coaches, so we know this. So take that 48-hour rule and put it into effect when you're thinking about what you're going to do with those cremated remains. Give it some time. Put them somewhere in the house. Think about it.
There's
talk
lots
to
of cool
family.
things you can do now. You
Yeah.
can put it into a diamond ring. You can make it into a necklace. You could turn some of those ashes into a record. There's all kinds of cool things.
All kinds of things. You just need to think about what you want to do with those cremated remains. Don't do anything drastic or anything that, because you're grieving and people just go on impulse. Don't do that. Think about it.
Yeah, that's right. Take the time and do it right. Question number 5 comes from Kevin. Kevin says, what are the benefits of pre-planning my funeral? Well, there's lots of benefits, obviously, but...
Well, pre-planning your funeral, believe it or not, it's a gift of love to your family. When you pre-plan your funeral, it does a lot. When you pass away, your family can grieve and continue grieving while the funeral home follows through with your wishes. Usually if you pre-plan, let's just say a simple cremation with a funeral home, there's 2 things it does. 1, it locks it in at today's price, meaning you don't pay a penny more. Some funeral homes don't do that. Be careful where you go. Some funeral homes will tell you 10 years later, oh yeah, cremation's gone up to $7,000 now, and you have to pay the difference. At Voyage Funeral Home, we lock it in at today's price. You never pay a penny more. So pre-planning does that for you. Peace of mind, knowing that everything's paid for. And a lot of people say this when they come in. I want to pre-plan because I want to take the burden off of my children.
That's right.
That's a huge thing. I want to take the burden off of my children. And that's one of the biggest reasons people pay in advance, people pre-plan in advance, and they trust that everything is going to be taken care of at their time of death.
Next question
Are we
says...
frozen, or is that screen just like...
No, that screen's frozen. As soon as we click on the other side,
all right.
we just go back to the other side. Just click on the other side, and it'll start
side
right
here?
back up. Yeah, no, the other side.
Which side? This side?
Just click anywhere.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's right back, okay? Who are funeral directors or transfer service operators, and what do they do? What's a transfer service operator?
I'm a funeral director.
What's a transfer
What
service?
do I do?
Am I a transfer service operator?
Here's
for
the
you?
difference, right? There's funeral homes, and then there's transfer services. And you probably see advertising on, Facebook all the time where people are opening up transfer services all across the country. What that means is they go pick up bodies for funeral homes.
Oh.
And they become a middle person, really. So they go to the house, they pick up the body, they bring the body to the funeral home, and they do that kind of thing. So they're not licensed funeral directors. They're just your average person who gets a job working in the death industry through a transfer company, which means they do transfers either for the medical examiner's office. So there's some people that so let's just say you have a home death. In that home death, if they want to take your loved one to a hospital because they want to investigate further on what happened, they are going to call a transfer service. And that transfer service works for the medical examiner's office. And they have a holding facility. So a lot of times they won't take your loved one to the hospital because the hospital morgue is full. So they take your loved one to the medical examiner's office holding facility. And they stay there until the ME's office reviews your file and decides whether they're going to release to the funeral home or they're going to investigate further by doing an autopsy. What do funeral directors do? A lot of people say that. What do you do as a funeral director? Like, what's your average day like? Do you just sit around a desk? You wear a shirt and tie? You drive black cars? Is that all you do? A funeral director does a lot. We arrange the services you want, whether it's cremation, traditional burial, a rental casket with cremation to follow. We help you with the music. We help you select pastors. We help you put the memorial cards together, the memorial book. We work the service during the funeral service. There's a funeral director on the service that'll guide the family and take you through the whole steps. A funeral director does so much. On our average day, we're picking up people's loved ones from the hospital. We're heading to the crematorium. We're doing cremations. We're doing funeral arrangements with numerous families. People are coming up to pick up cremated remains. So we're giving cremated remains back to family and going through the paperwork. We're washing cars. We're embalming. We're cremating. We're doing so many things on the average day.
Cleaning up catering.
Cleaning up catering. So Brad's been working at the funeral home lately, and he's
Here we
getting
go.
a touch of what I do on the average day. And it's a lot of work. There's a lot of things to go through. And a good funeral director will start with you from the beginning to end, where other people don't get involved. And that's the benefit of using a family-run funeral home. And the families, well, imagine, who's the wife? I don't know, I never met her. And that's what happens with a lot of funeral homes. But when you're dealing with a family-run funeral home, you deal with that same funeral director the whole time. And a person like Brad that comes and works in as a funeral assistant. Somebody says, even cleaning toilets.
Nope.
Yes, that's right.
Not me.
On average days, I'll clean toilets.
Attaboy.
If somebody, throws up, we clean that up. Hair, cosmetics. There's so much that happens in the everyday. Placing a person in a casket, dressing a person.
Hey, what happens if I'm not satisfied as a customer with the way you've handled things?
So if somebody's not happy with the funeral home and the way they handled things, the first thing you should do is talk to the funeral home. Talk to the management of the funeral home and express your dissatisfaction with the funeral home. What happened, how they could have did things better, what you didn't like, how you felt. It's important to talk about that, because if people don't tell me, not that we get many complaints, but I always ask families, how was your services? How did the staff treat you? How was everything followed through that you wanted? And very seldomly will somebody say something to me. Some people will say, well, there was a mistake in my obituary. But I like to know about things like that, because then we could correct it for the next family.
Sure.
So talk with the manager of the funeral home, not just an employee, and tell them what your situation is. And if it doesn't go anywhere there, you could put a complaint in with the board that takes care of funeral directors. And every complaint gets followed.
Yeah.
So an investigator will go to the funeral home. You'll have to give them a written complaint, and the funeral director will have to reply himself with a written complaint, or herself. And the board will decide who's right or wrong. And it could go as far as going to court. The board will take the funeral home to court and have them charged for what they did.
So Linda says, how much does a funeral actually cost now, Mike? Because obviously there's a lot of different things involved.
So we'll start at a simple cremation. So at Voyage, a simple cremation is $1,600. You could pay up to $6,500 to $8,500 at another funeral home for a simple cremation. We have cremation with a memorial service, which is $5,900. That service could be $12,000 to $15,000 at another funeral home. And then we have a service where you can get a rental casket and have a full traditional service where you have a viewing and the whole works. And then after that, you're placed in a cremation casket where the cremation takes place, and that's $5,900. And then our services for a traditional burial start at, I think it's $7,000 or $7,500, which includes a casket. It includes the hardwood casket. It includes the embalming, the pickup from the hospital, the limousine, the lead car, the hearse, your memorial cards, your memorial books. So the good thing about Voyage is all our prices are in writing. A traditional burial starting at other funeral homes, you saw caskets at $7,000.
Yeah.
Jenny's on the show, one of our funeral directors, and the manager.
$7,000.
She says, $7,000, Mike, get it right. So that's Jenny setting me straight there. So our services start at $7,000, including a hardwood casket, and that's a complete service, no hidden costs, no hidden fees. Something else I want to tell you about, if you walk into a funeral home and you're pre-planned and you overpaid, let's just say they're charging you, $16,000 for a service, come to Voyage, we will reimburse your money and give you the same service at a much lower price, and you could legally do that, just so you know.
Patty wants to know, if a loved one dies at home, does it go to the hospital or the funeral home?
So when a person dies at home, there's two things that happen. You either have a letter from the from the Regional Health Authority, an anticipated home death, and that's usually somebody that has cancer or sickness. We get a copy of that letter, and if the person dies at home, you don't have to call 911. I called the 911 circus. Not that I'm putting down 911, but you get an ambulance, a fire truck, paramedics. They try to resuscitate. They do what they can. That's their jobs. Yeah. So if you don't have that anticipated home death letter and you call 911, that's what's going to happen. So what happens is when you have a home death and you don't have an anticipated home death letter, let's just say somebody fell, banged their head on the wall, on the floor, and
you got to call.
And you got to call 911. So 911 will send the crew out, and then sometimes the medical examiner's office will come to the house, and they will decide whether the person.
There's an investigation.
There's an investigation that takes
right?
place. So, if a person more than likely has fallen and banged their head or hurt themselves in one way or another, fell down the stairs, more than likely that person is going to the hospital for an autopsy. Now, deaths that happen, let's just say somebody had cancer, doesn't have the anticipated home death letter, but dies at home. Sometimes the medical examiner's office will go to the house, review the file, knowing the person has cancer, and they will allow that individual to come directly to the funeral home.
What happens if it happens in the middle of the night?
So in the middle of the night...
That's Tracy's question.
Tracy, we have funeral directors on call 24 hours a day. I think Jenny's on call tonight. I may be on call. I don't know. My phone hasn't rang.
I'm going to reach out and phone Jenny right away and say
phone
hello.
Jenny, see if she's on call. But anyways, we have funeral directors on call 24 hours a day. Good thing about Voyage Funeral Home is you're going to get somebody answering the phone all the time. And if you get an answering machine, there's a number on that answering machine where you can call a second person. So we're really there for you. When you lose a loved one at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, it's us that answer the phone. We don't have an answering service answering the phone for us. You're getting a live funeral director who can actually answer your questions, guide you, protect you, and take you through the steps of what you need to do next.
So this next question is, well, all about another loved one, but where will my loved one be kept until the day of the funeral? So some people, they don't necessarily stay in the morgue, and some people don't necessarily stay under your care. Sometimes they're in other places too.
You know
right?
what? That's a good question, because a lot of people... So here's a big question you need to ask when you're going to a funeral home. Where's my loved one going to be through this whole process of you taking care of the cremation or the traditional burial? The right answer should be that your loved one will be in our care in our mortuary facilities. That's where your loved one should be. Now, a lot of people don't have mortuary facilities, so they subcontract that out to a third party. Some people don't even have embalming rooms. So your loved one's never in their care. Only when the funeral service happens do they even see your loved one. So it's an important question to ask, where is my loved one going to be? At Voyage, your loved one is in our care 100% of the time. Sometimes we use a service that we work with that actually works for us. We pay them not as subcontractors, but as almost employees, where they have cooling facilities. So we can take your loved one and keep them in a cooling facility if the service is going to be a long period of time away, or if our mortuary area is full. But it's people we trust. We go there, we take your loved one into our care, we bring your loved one there. So there's lots of continuity of care with Voyage Funeral Home. So the right answer to that should be your loved one is in our mortuary at all times, in our care 100% of the time.
So if they're not in your care and they're somewhere else, they're being dealt with that way, may anybody visit them before the funeral?
So that's a good question. And this is where a lot of people run into problems. So they walk into a funeral home and they say, you know, I want to see my mom one last time. You remember?
Yep.
Last week on the show, somebody phoned in. They flew in from out of town to see their mom one more time. When they got to the funeral home, they realized that the funeral home had lied to them. Their mom was not in their care. They could not see their mom because their mom was subcontracted out to a third party.
And already cremated.
And already cremated without the cremation form being signed. It's illegal for a funeral home to do a cremation without the cremation form signed. If the cremation form is not signed, I don't know what happened there. So sometimes, I guess, if you're subcontracting out to a third party, there's miscommunication. Things happen.
I thought you can't make a mistake because the cremation machine needs to be punched in properly.
That's how we do it.
Ah.
That's the thing about third-party places. You don't know anything about them. You don't know their morals.
So can we say that the machines at Voyage are far superior to other machines, some of the other machines in the province?
I would think that if you're in the business of being in the funeral business and you're a funeral home, you're doing things right. If you're what I call a storefront business, you're more than likely doing things wrong and you don't see that person's loved one. And I'm not putting down people in funeral service, but it drives me crazy when people can work in funeral service who haven't invested in their customers. So when you come to us, we've invested in you. We have chapels, we have reception areas, we have hearses, limousines, lead cars, we have the crematorium, we have our offices, we have buildings. So we've invested in our families.
Lots of options, caskets,
and there's lots of options available,
and all that, right?
The biggest option is continuity of care. So if your loved one's not in the funeral home's care, where are they? You don't know where they are because you don't know if there's a third party involved. And if there is a third party, what's their business practices? What's their morals? How do they take care of your loved one? How clean are their facilities? There's so many questions to ask. And some people will say, well, my loved one is dead. Does it really matter? It does matter. There's respect after death, and there's dignity after death. And that's for you and your loved one. Both needed to be treated fairly. Just because the person is absent from the body and present with the Lord doesn't mean you treat the body disrespectfully.
Yep, that's right. Okay, well, one last question, I think, before we're getting close to bringing it home tonight. My mom has cancer and wants to die at home. Can you let me know the procedure, she says. Thank you in advance from Jenny.
So, Jenny, another Jenny.
Not the same Jenny, probably. No.
So if you have cancer, you're at home, talk to your palliative care team, and they will give the funeral home an anticipated home death letter through the Regional Health Authority, and we'll get a copy of that, and you'll get a copy of that. Make sure you do that in advance. Do that tomorrow morning. You have home care nurses that come to the house. Get a hold of palliative care. Let them know that it's an anticipated home death and you want to die at home. And believe it or not, the hospital is sending more and more people to die at home, to be with their families. And sometimes, if you really think about it, what better place to die? You know, surrounded by family, surrounded by friends, no rush to get the loved one out of the house. And when a person dies, you don't have to call a funeral home right away. You can spend time with your loved one. You can invite friends over. You can say your final goodbyes. There's all kinds of things that happen. That's where your funeral director will guide you.
Well, you've had a heck of a night tonight. We've managed to talk about monkeypox. We've talked about some funeral atrocities. We've talked about some great answers to great questions that have led people to getting an understanding about what to do and what not to do within the industry.
Right.
You even got a call from the future
From Donald
president.
Trump. Look at that.
Donald Trump. There you go.
So thank you for tuning in to another edition of Ask the Funeral Director. God bless you and your families. Take care of yourselves and each other. Thank you, Brad, for hosting
Thanks, Mike.
another amazing show.
You betcha, buddy. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you next
Good night.
time.